Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about why I am not getting the first two vaccines that are coming to Canada. This is the Pfizer consent form that I started to fill out, two-sided, didn't actually finish it, because I went and did some more research before I handed in my consent form and I changed my mind. What do I mean by more research? I didn't do any research before receiving the form. I came into work and it was sitting there, did not expect it to be there that fast. We hadn't heard any word that it was gonna be coming in the coming weeks or anything, so it was just like, surprise, it's here. I grabbed all the paperwork that was with it that they had, and I went through it first. This one's the urgent request for long-term care home staff to receive the vaccine. In underlined words it says, it's important to note the immunization is voluntary. Right there. This sheet actually lets us know what the plan is for our personal nursing home, how many vaccines they have for us, and when they're expected to come to us. At first it talked like it was going to be able to be at Collingwood for us, and then they changed it so everybody has been driving to Barrie, to the Sperling Drive location to get the vaccine. And then I just got this sheet like last week from work. It's just a little more information, fact sheet both sides, and this is developed by Pfizer and Moderna. But they're basically saying that everybody can have it as long as you are watched after you have it for any adverse reactions. Then you should be fine to get it if you want it. But why would somebody not want it? Why don't I want it? Like, this is all so great, it's so effective, so why don't I want a vaccine that works? I'm not anti-vax. I have all my other vaccines. This is the only vaccine I don't have yet, but it's not mandatory, it's voluntary, so I'll be waiting. Not until it's mandatory, but until more information comes out about Pfizer or Moderna. Preferably I would like to get the AstraZeneca vaccine so far of what I've read. I'm more comfortable with AstraZeneca or the Santa Fe, how do I say it? Santa Fe? The GSK vaccine I'm also interested in. For those of you that don't know, there's way more than two vaccines coming. There's not just one vaccine that's it. They're working on like 120 different vaccine candidates. Different ones are going to get approved in different countries, which we've already seen. It's all voluntary. They're not forcing you to get a certain vaccine. They're not forcing you to when to get it. It's all up to you. Some people at my workplace jumped on it right away as soon as they saw the form. Other people waited a week, listened to what other people's opinions were, did their own research, and then they made their decision. I want to just openly talk about why I'm not getting the vaccine and the reasons why, so that people that are wondering why have an answer. My union even, the SEIU union I am with, sent an email out to ask why people are not getting vaccinated. What's your opinion? Is it cultural? Is it because you have mistrust in the government? Which, honestly, right now, I don't blame any long-term care worker for not wanting to get vaccinated because of what we've been put through this past wave with Ford and just how they've taken care of us. Don't blame anybody. In a Public Health Agency document of Canada, it goes over the guidelines of a vaccine in the event of a pandemic, how to prevent delays in the release of the vaccine, and the Government of Canada indemnifies any manufacturer against claims or lawsuits brought against it by third parties. This is to speed up any delays in the making of the vaccine to get it out faster to the public. That's why all the G7 countries have vaccine injury programs. The Government of Canada announced a plan to establish Pan-Canadian No-Fault Vaccine Injury Support Program, so that's a thing. I will link everything down below, so if you guys want to do your own looking through this information, you can. One of my biggest concerns when I first learned about the vaccines was the DART studies. There's no DART studies in Pfizer, which means that we have no information on reproductive, fertility, pregnancy, lactation. We have no information on that at all because they haven't studied it. I'm just focusing on the reproductive stuff mostly for the first two vaccines, mostly Pfizer, because they did not publish their animal studies before conducting on humans, so we have no information about what happened to the animals before he started testing on humans, which is still going on. They're in phase 3 right now. Apparently there is 12 people who have reported pregnancy in the trial. So we will wait to see the results of those 12 people, if that's true. So if you go to the Pfizer manufacturer site and you read their posted trials, they say themselves that human reproductive safety data is not available at this time. I find it incredibly shocking that they didn't think to do any reproductive safety data, not even on animals like Moderna, before releasing it to us, because 90% of healthcare workers are female. That's a big chunk of women in the industry that might be pregnant, that might be wanting to have a pregnancy, that might be breastfeeding still, and you have no information about the safety for them. I just find that completely unacceptable. If such a large population is at risk of having a pregnancy, when you're recommending not to be pregnant during this vaccine, then I think you should be looking into that a little more before publishing or releasing it to the public, because it's not even published yet. With that aside though, with no developmental reproductive studies being out there, the FDA and Health Canada still says it should be safe because it's not a live vaccine. Live vaccines will not make you sick. None of these vaccines are live vaccines. The only live vaccine out there right now is in India. They are working on it, and so you don't need to worry about that if you're not gonna get that vaccine. If you go to Pfizer's manufacturer site again, they also have another link, which I will all down below. It lets you know how they are studying these pregnant ladies, if pregnancies occur, what happened, and they're following everything for up to 2 years. So that gives you a good chunk of long-term side effects. There's lots of vaccines that are being made. The 4 main types of vaccines being made that should all be considered to be accepted into our population, because we have to vaccinate 50 to 75% of our population for herd immunity. That's not going to happen if the majority of people don't want to get certain vaccines. So how about you approve other vaccines that people do want and are okay with? You can tell somebody's an anti-vaxxer when it doesn't matter what information you're giving them, they're going to keep saying no. In this case, with these first 2 vaccines, a lot of people are saying no. It doesn't mean they're an anti-vaxxer. It just means they don't want this vaccine. One of the biggest things I'm concerned about, besides DART studies and besides the fact that they can't get sued if anything goes wrong, is the concern for pathogenic priming. I was told mRNA vaccines have been studied for 2 decades, so they're safe. Don't worry, you can get them. Okay, well, I don't just take anybody's word for anything, so I went to go look up these past studies to figure out all the history we know about mRNA vaccines, because honestly I haven't learned much about them at all. I'm in healthcare. Antibody-dependent enhancement, ADE. It's been noted in SARS. Antibodies that were focused in on the S protein were found to mediate these antibody-dependent enhancements more. There was an enhanced infection of macrophages and B cells. Therefore, they came to the conclusion that if you're doing an S-only protein-based vaccine, they must be carefully evaluated. In the animal studies of the SARS and MERS vaccines, they found evidence of lung and liver pathology. And these 2 trials, Moderna and Pfizer, both in their animal studies, which used non-human primates, failed to examine organ sites other than the lungs, and they failed to measure one potential marker of pathogenic priming that has been found elevated in past coronavirus studies, IL-5. There was pathogenesis consistent with immunological priming. That could involve autoimmunity in the lung tissues due to previous exposure from the spike protein. So Pfizer did mouse and primate studies. Moderna did mouse and primate studies. Johnson & Johnson has done primate studies. AstraZeneca, Oxford has done primate studies. And the other 2 vaccines that are being considered are the Novavax and the Sanofi, both of which are claiming to be cruelty-free companies, which as a past vegan, I don't understand, because they still tested on rabbits and apparently mice and primates in the other one. So I don't really know how that works, but so keep in mind these animal trials are being conducted alongside and not before these human trials. So we're basically waiting to see when the animal trials are published and when the human trials are published. So if pathogenic priming is a real concern, autoimmunity against human proteins is. That's critical proteins in our immune system. It's going to cause autoimmune diseases. So far, none of the vaccines have eliminated known epitopes. That's part of the SARS coronavirus that matches human proteins. So basically, your immune system could attack itself. That's my biggest concern. Anaphylaxis has been mentioned also. Anaphylaxis is an allergic reaction. The ingredients of these vaccines are posted. Please read the ingredients. Please talk to your healthcare provider if you think you could be allergic or if you have past allergies, because that makes you more likely to have an allergic reaction. Right now they're saying it's the polyethylene glycol that is causing the allergic reactions, so just make sure you're not sensitive to that ingredient, which is found in a lot of other products in our life, so you will notice, hopefully before you get this vaccine, if you were allergic to it. It's something you should have already came across. So I'm not going to go through and divide each and every vaccine, the 5 vaccines that Canada might be approving, because that's already been done elsewhere, and I think they have done a great job of that. I can link down some things. I'll put some things in the links that I used to kind of compare and contrast, but mostly I just went to the manufacturer sites and compared what they have posted on their trials, because that is the most reliable, even though they're posting it themselves, but they're having third parties look into and peer review. So basically, you're good if you go to the manufacturer site. If you're going to some random blog, it's just somebody's personal opinion. And I would say my biggest factor in waiting, because my first thing I said when the vaccine came out was, yes, I will be getting this to protect my residents and my family members that are at risk, because I don't want to bring that virus home. If my nursing home goes in outbreak, I don't want to bring it home to my family members who are at risk also. As well as I don't want to bring it into my nursing home from family members. When I read this part of the trials, I came to my conclusion. None of the vaccines have tested transmission. It doesn't stop you from passing it on to the person right beside you. So what's the point in us getting it? What's the point in healthcare workers getting it first? I said no because I would rather it be given to my residents first. They are more at risk than myself. And I would rather them have the opportunity to get it before me. They are older, they are more at risk, they're more likely to die or have serious complications from it, which the vaccine was tested to reduce severe COVID symptoms. So give it to them. I know young people can get sick too, but I would rather them get vaccinated before us. And if they're all vaccinated, then it shouldn't spread resident to resident. We have wanderers that we cannot keep out of other people's rooms because we are so short-staffed. If we had enough staff, you could have somebody guarding the hallways, making sure that people stay in their own rooms. We don't have that luxury in long-term care. Yes, it can be the healthcare workers spreading the virus around if they don't got proper PPE, or if you don't got enough staff. If you're with one resident out of your 30 other residents, and you have a resident's alarm down the hall go off and they're gonna fall and you're with somebody else, yeah, you might stop doing care with that person, put that bed down, rush to them to go and help that person who's about to fall, because the person in the bed is not at risk of anything right now. They're fine. There you go, you just transferred whatever that patient had onto the other one if you didn't have time to switch your PPE and do proper hand hygiene. I personally don't work at a prison, but I just want to say, prison doors lock. They can be isolated in their rooms a whole lot easier. They got roommates too, I'm sure, as long-term care do. We can't lock long-term care home doors. That's against the residents' rights. Speaking of the prisoners again, They are only going to be vaccinating first the elderly ones and those ones at risk, which is no different than vaccinating our elderly in the nursing homes. They are also at risk. So I have nothing against that, but I think that the healthy inmates that are able to be isolated in their rooms, able to be locked in their rooms, I think they should be waiting, because we have residents in nursing homes who've done nothing wrong, they haven't broken the law, and they're not able to be safe. And that's not fair. But other than those 3 reasons aside, the DIRT studies, the anemifying against liability, the pathogenic priming, and just the studies not being studied enough in general, I'm gonna wait. There's more and more coming out now. At least in Canada, the vaccine should not become mandatory. They may make it so that your workplaces are making it mandatory. They can claim for health and safety of the public and their other employees that you need to get it for safety, especially if it's an outbreak situation and it's more likely to spread. If they make it mandatory, I'm not scared to quit my job in long-term care. I already don't get paid well enough, and I'm already putting myself at risk right now working there. So if I need to quit being a PSW for a little bit of time and do something else, I am fully capable of doing that. It makes me really sad for my residents, because I don't know who's going to be there to take care of them, and I wish I could be, but I'm not going to put myself at risk for something that may or may not have a bad effect on me, and that is up to me. Canada is also running out of vaccines. They're gonna get more sent to them, it's just they don't have any more right now. So right now, if you needed a second dose, they might not have your second dose ready for you. They might have more Moderna than they do Pfizer eventually, and they might have to give you Moderna dose instead of Pfizer dose when you had Pfizer for your first dose, which is a little scary because they haven't studied the effects of mixing the vaccines. But they're also saying they'd rather give you a second dose than no dose at all, because a second dose will make you more immune to fighting COVID than one dose. One dose does not give you the same effectivity. So you're not going to be at like the 90-94%. You're going to be a lot lower. So they want you to be up higher, so we have herd immunity, so more people are more likely to fight off the virus. Of course, you have the variants now, the UK variant and the South African variant. Pfizer was already studying if their vaccine would work against the UK variants or other variants. Pfizer's now claiming that their vaccine should work against all variants. Even if the vaccine didn't work against the variants, it only takes them 6 weeks to make another vaccine, says the maker of Pfizer. So I'm not too concerned about if a vaccine doesn't work and they gotta make another one, they'll do that. Sorry for all the people that got it early, I guess. Other sources in Canada are saying that they will not be giving out those second doses because that goes against what the manufacturers are recommending. But the UK and the States have already done that, so I'm just waiting to see if Canada is also going to do that, or if we're going to wait until we get our second shipment or whatever. It just doesn't give me good feels other people telling you what to think. I can think for myself, and this is what my opinion is. I will be waiting to get the AstraZeneca or the Santa Fe vaccine. I'm hoping right now. If anything changes, I will let you know, but as of right now, that is how I'm feeling. And yeah, let me know how you're feeling in the comments, or if you are another healthcare worker who has said no to the vaccine and why. See you guys in another video. Goodbye.